Assassin's Creed. So today we're gonna be tier listing all the games from my beloved franchise, Assassin's Creed. My god, the fucking irony in that sentence. Please kill me. As I say, always, this is purely my opinion on the franchise. This is my tier list. So fuck you if you don't agree with it, But who cares at this point? I want some views. I want some engagement in my videos. So please, if you want to spread hate, go ahead, do it. Break a leg. I'm fine with it. As long as this video gets traction and views, I'm fine with it. So without any further ado, let's get right into this. So here we are in our tier list. And first off, we have Assassin's Creed 3. Now, I have a soft spot for Assassin's Creed 3, mainly because it's the first game that I played in this franchise, which is fucking insane because I understood nothing from the story. But overall, I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed 3. I thought the gameplay was really fun. I thought the combat was really, really good, and probably one of the best in the series. Although, I do agree, the open world was really, really bland, and I can understand why people don't really like the story as much. People don't really, I personally, I'm not a big fan of Connor. I thought he was a very naive and very dumb character. Also, I can understand why people are not really fans of the modern day, and I can understand totally the criticisms about it. I do think the ending was very controversial, and it felt very rushed. But yeah, but overall, I still think the writing in Assassin's Creed 3 is inherently bad. I do love the Templars. The Templars are fucking badass in Assassin's Creed 3. We got Haytham, we got Charles Lee, we got Thomas Hickey, and all these other fucking badass characters. The first three sequences of Assassin's Creed 3 are fucking solid, and you know what? Like, I freaking love the first three sequences of Assassin's Creed 3. I swear, if you played as Haytham throughout the entirety of Assassin's Creed 3, I would have fucking just put this instantly at the top. But right now, as I see, Assassin's Creed 3 stands right on B tier. Yeah, that's the perfect place for it. Next up on the list, we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Anyway, moving on. Now, honestly, I'm being a bit harsh here, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey literally has nothing to do with Assassin's Creed per se. I do think it's still a fun ancient Greece RPG to play, I guess, for a couple hours. Just a chill casual game that you can play and just mess around with for a little bit and then just get bored of it and just, never finish it, which I personally did. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, to me personally, it's just a mess, to be honest, because I hate a lot of things about it. But also, if it weren't tied down to Assassin's Creed, I probably wouldn't have, minded Assassin's Creed Odyssey that much. Hell, I probably would have never played it, to be honest with you. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is, I don't know what to say about it. It's just like, it's beyond words of how utterly terrible this game is. The game design is horrible. Also, the use of microtransactions for you to progress through the game is totally uncool. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to buy them, but man, the way it's forced down your throat is just, so scummy of Ubisoft. I mean, to be honest, even other games in the franchise are guilty of using microtransactions, but not to the level of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. I talk more about these issues in my previous video, which is the tragedy of the Assassin's Creed series. You guys can go check it out. The link is in the description. It took a lot of effort to make, guys, and just please give me those damn views already. Not only that, I also have a lot of issues with Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLCs because they completely make a mess of the fucking lore. But to be honest, Origins started it, and Odyssey kind of just fucking made it even worse. And yeah, Odyssey in general is a game that I detest. But also, I also don't like Origins, which is a discussion we'll be getting into in a bit. So yeah. So next up, we have Assassin's Creed Revelations. I absolutely adore this game. Genuinely, this might be a very hot take, but I think this is probably the best game from the Ezio trilogy. For me personally, I really like it, and I don't know why, whenever I think about Assassin's Creed, I always, whenever I think about replaying an Assassin's Creed game, I don't know why it's always Revelations that always comes up in my mind for some reason. I don't know what is it about Assassin's Creed Revelations that really draws me into it. Is it the really, really beautifully written story? Is it the really, really cool setting? Is it the characters? Like, what is it that really draws me into it? And it's just such a great game. You know, I mean, I feel like in general it doesn't get enough credit in my opinion. I think a lot of people disregard Assassin's Creed Revelations from the Ezio trilogy. They don't really count it as, you know, one of the best. They kind of just think it's okay. But personally, I personally think this game is just so close to my heart. I fucking love it. You know, it's such a brilliant way to, you know, wrap up Ezio's journey. The writing is amazing. The gameplay I can understand is not so good compared to Brotherhood, you know, but still, man, it's still like I would say I did enjoy Assassin's Creed Revelations gameplay. I enjoyed, you know, traversing through Constantinople. I enjoyed gliding through those zip lines using the hook blade, you know, and I also really like the hook blade. It was very much fun to climb with the hook blade. Overall, I just think, you know, Assassin's Creed Revelations was is just a phenomenal game. I fucking love it. It has just some of the best writing I've ever seen for video games. It's the best, probably the best ending I've ever seen in any video game, to be honest with you. Like, it's insane how good Assassin's Creed Revelations is. And just for that, I'd give Assassin's Creed Revelations. I'd give Assassin's Creed Revelations a S tier. So next up we have Assassin's Creed Rogue. Now, people say this is the most underrated Assassin's Creed game. It's like the dark horse of the Assassin's Creed series. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of very eh. Like, I personally found Rogue to be a very average game. I thought it was very mid overall. There wasn't anything particularly special about it. Like, I get it that, you know, some characters are returning. You know, you got characters from Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed 4 returning and all. But overall, I just don't think the writing in Rogue is that good. It's just very mediocre and subpar. And a lot of elements in Rogues just don't work in my opinion. Also, I just don't like the way the Templars and Assassins are handled. Yeah, in general, I just feel like playing as a Templar, it just felt like Templars basically felt like Assassins to me, and Assassins felt like Templars. The writing just, it was just not good enough. I personally never felt, I didn't feel any different playing as a Templar than I did playing as an Assassin. And also in general, I just think the setting was really boring as well. There was nothing interesting about it. Like, I did like North Atlantic, but it was just snow, like nothing else, you know. And again, it borrows the same like naval system from Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I do agree. I think the naval in Rogue is a lot better than that in Black Flag. I think it definitely polishes it up a lot more, but I still don't think that's reason enough to like actually, you know, like this game. I thought it was very mid. There was anything particularly bad about it, but there was nothing particularly good about it either. And yeah, you know, like, I get it, you know, the ending sort of perfectly set up like a Arno / Connor sequel, and would have been so good if they followed up with that, but they never fucking did, because it's typical Ubisoft. They never make sequels for characters. But yeah, overall, to me, Rogue is a very mediocre mid-tier Assassin's Creed game, and for that reason, I'll probably going to put it at C or D. Yeah, we're gonna stick with C tier for Assassin's Creed Rogue. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed 2. So, again, a very hot take here. I personally think Assassin's Creed 2 is the weakest from the Ezio trilogy. I know you're gonna come after me with spikes and all that, but man, Assassin's Creed 2 is a really, really good game. I really like it. The story is amazing. The way we get to see Ezio develop from a young, brash teenager to a, you know, a master assassin is wonderful. You know, the story is great. The gameplay also is pretty good. Like, it definitely improves upon a lot of things from AC1. You know, it completely, you know, introduces a new setting, you know, and it also has probably, I would say, the most best setting in Assassin's Creed ever. Like, Italy, Renaissance Italy is so beautiful. It's just, you know, like, the cities in Assassin's Creed 2 are so beautiful in itself, like Venice, Florence, you know, and also, you know, Tuscany and all these other places. And Assassin's Creed 2, I think one thing I love Assassin's Creed 2 is, of course, the soundtrack. Jesper Kate is fucking amazing, and that, and the ambience music, just exploring all these cities is wonderful. And, you know, it also introduced assassin tombs and all that, and a lot of cool stuff, you know, they introduced from Assassin's Creed 2. And I do agree, there are a lot of good things about Assassin's Creed 2, you know, but I feel like if you remove the rose tinted glasses and actually look at it critically, I think Assassin's Creed 2 also has a lot of cracks and flaws. I think the pacing of the story is really affected by the two DLCs at the end, which is Bonfire of the Vanities and Battle of Forlì. They really affect the, you know, the flow of the story, in my opinion. Also, you know, I feel like, you know, looking back, the game is good though, but I feel like to anyone getting into the franchise now, I don't know if they will really enjoy Assassin's Creed 2 that much personally, because I don't know why. Like, I personally think Assassin's Creed 2, as much as it is good, I feel like it lacks like any replayable value. Even though I'm a nostalgic, huge Ezio trilogy fan. And I recently did play Assassin's Creed 2. I do agree that I could definitely see the flaws more clearly this time around. But still, I really love Assassin's Creed 2. It's a great game. It has the best character ever in Assassin's Creed, and one of the best characters in gaming, Ezio Auditore. He's amazing. Um, just overall, EC2 is a pretty good game. But I would say it's not the best from the Ezio trilogy, and it definitely does run into a lot of flaws, especially towards the end. There's pacing issues with the story. There's a lot of issues with that. But overall, I would say Assassin's Creed 2 is a solid entry to the franchise, and I'd probably give it an S or A tier. I'll probably give it A tier, to be honest with you. I know this will piss off a lot of people, but I like Assassin's Creed 2, but I think compared to Brotherhood Revelations, it is a little weak. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Now, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is a pretty fun game. Like, I really had a lot of fun playing Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It's a great game. Like, I have heard people saying it's not an Assassin's Creed game, it's a pirate game. But man, if you dig deeper into the game and really understand the story, it's so much more than that. Like, it's such a beautiful, story written, by Dari McDevitt, who's a fucking god in my opinion, of this man who goes on a journey, goes from being a swashbuckling pirate to be a proper, mature assassin. And that journey is so wonderfully written, and I just love Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I love the supporting cast. I love the setting. Fucking Golden Age of Piracy. Are you kidding me? Like, playing as a pirate, that's fucking fun as fuck. The naval is really fun as well in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Although I do agree, I think some side activities can get really boring in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. There are a lot of pointless collectibles as well. The combat is not the best in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag as well. Like, it's definitely a step down from that of Assassin's Creed 3. The difficulty is pretty much gone. I do like the series of Assassin's Creed 4 like a lot. Like Havana, even though Kingston is very mid, but Havana is really good though. And of course, Nassau is also pretty interesting in my opinion. But again, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is a pretty good game, but again, it has a lot of flaws as well. Like in general, I just think the gameplay loop is satisfying for a bit, but then it is not satisfying at all. Like, I do think a lot of side activities could get really boring or repetitive after a certain point. And in general, I just think it definitely is a game that has a lot of flaws in it, but I still think it's a pretty good game. It's definitely better than the shittier ones, you know what I mean? It's definitely up there with Assassin's Creed Revelations in terms of story, but gameplay wise, I think it leaves a lot to be desired. You know what I mean? Like, also one of the massive criticism I have of Assassin's Creed Black Flag is that there is way too many fucking tailing missions, which got really frustrating towards the end. I can get land tailing, but ship tailing was so frustrating. Like, my god, it really frustrated me throughout the story. That the amount of tailing missions there were, like, it was insane. But still, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is a fun game to play. I would definitely, like, for any newcomers coming into the franchise, I'd easily recommend Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It's a really, it's a good, I would say it's a good entry point to the series if you really want to, like, have a fun adventure, have a fun game to play along with, have some Assassin's Creed stuff to do. Even though, like, people argue it's not an Assassin's Creed game, I would say otherwise. It is a very good Assassin's Creed game at that. And that is why I gave Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I'd put Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag probably in A tier with Assassin's Creed 2. Yeah, it's a pretty good spot for Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. So next up we have Assassin's Creed Liberation. What the fuck is this? Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is that. I never played it, so next up we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I don't know where to start with this game. It's probably the game that, I have a lot of split opinions on, because there's a lot of this game that I absolutely hate, but there is some things that I do like, some tiny details that I do like, that connects to the previous games before it and makes it something meaningful and special. Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as much as I fucking hate the combat, I hate all the RPG aspects, it does have some things that make it cool and make it sort of stand apart from all the other games. I think the modern day was really cool in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Although I hate the fact that they tied in the entire mythological story with it. But at least they tried to do something with the modern day this time around, instead of just it being, something in the side. They at least tried to do something actively with it. And yeah, I think it was a pretty bold move with what they did with the modern day. And it was really interesting. And I mean, the story is, I don't know. I don't really care much about the story because it's heavily mythological stuff. It has nothing to do with assassins. Like I can understand, like there is some cool stuff about, the Order of the Ancients towards the end, and of course there's a lot of cool stuff about, the Hidden Ones. There's a Hidden Ones bureaus and all that, and there's also a lot of sort of cool notes about the Hidden Ones and all that. But man, you have to go out of your way to like search for these. It's not present in the main game. It's not even, in the slightest integrated to the main story or never brought up or mentioned. You know what I mean? It's just like there on the side. If you want to do it, do it. It's kind of like just sidelining us old fans, and that's what I fucking hate. Because from the interviews, from Di McDevitt, he just said this is as much a Viking game as much as it is an Assassin's Creed game, which it is not. Let's be fucking honest. It's 80% Vikings, like 80-90% Vikings, and probably like 10% Assassin's Creed, I guess. And also just the ending invalidates whatever the fuck you did as an assassin in the game. Like, all this social stealth and all the assassin shit you do in the game just doesn't mean anything, which again is a massive disappointment in my opinion. And there's just so much stuff that I just don't like of Valhalla, but there's some stuff I really do like. I love the Norse written by Darby. I love the modern day. And there's lots of, there's some definitely cool scenes here and there. Like, for example, I really love the villain arc in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It ties in so perfectly to Assassin's Creed 3, and it just does in such a beautiful way that, it's just like, there's some things I do appreciate about this game, but then majority of the things I just fucking hate, which is why, for me, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is just not a game that I personally would ever replay again, because it's so bloated as well. Again, it's just Ubisoft mentality. Just, like, make the games as big as possible and, bloat them with as much content as possible. Don't focus on quality, just focus on quantity. And that's just what Ubisoft did with this game. And, there was just way too many filler arcs that probably should have been better if it were just like not been compulsory to finish the main game. They should have just been side arcs that he could have done on the side. You could have trimmed a lot of fat from this game. And in general, I just think Valhalla is a very weird Assassin's Creed game, and I can understand why. Because this game was coming to the pandemic. You gotta understand that, and also the team faced a lot of fucking issues and challenges, during launch and all that, with and the entire Ubisoft controversy and all that, and a lot of the senior devs being fired, the senior execs getting fired, for sexually harassing their employees, which definitely left a bad taste in my mouth, which is why I did not really have any hype or hope for this game after. Also, Valhalla suffers the same problem as Odyssey with the microtransactions and all that. I already talked about it in the Tragedy of Assassin's Creed series video. You should definitely go check it out. But yeah, I'd probably give Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'd probably put it in D tier. It's not that bad, but there's a lot of things I just don't like about it in general. So next off, we have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I mean, I'd probably say it's pretty much agreed upon by the community that this is arguably the best Assassin's Creed game there is, which I do agree upon. There's a lot of things I love about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I love the combat. I love the way it just expands on whatever Assassin's Creed 2 did, and I think overall, I think Assassin's Creed Brotherhood balances everything so well. The side content is amazing in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. The open world is beautiful. I fucking love Rome. The parkour is at its peak, exact peak in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. The story is pretty good. Like, I mean, as much as people say the story in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is pretty forgettable, I disagree. I think it's a pretty subtle story, and like it's a lot more subtle than AC2 and Revelations, but I still love it. The villains are pretty cool. I fucking love Cesare Borgia. Rodrigo is also pretty good too. Overall, I just think Assassin's Creed Brotherhood just has tick marked everything in the box that makes an Assassin's Creed game perfect, in my opinion. And to me, it is, definitely the best Assassin's Creed game in the series, because it just gets everything so right. And it's insane that this game was only in development for like 8 or 9 months. That is fucking insanity. The fact that they only had such a short while to make this game, and they still made it the best they can, and that's some dedication and passion right there. You know what I mean? But that's not the Ubisoft that we know now. You know what I mean? Overall, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is a phenomenal game. It's what else can I say? I'm running out of words to describe it. It's so fucking good. So yeah, I'm probably going to put it. Probably not even probably. I'm just definitely gonna put it in S tier. That's definitely a fucking S tier. No doubt about it. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed 1. Now, I see a lot of people hating this game, mainly because it's very outdated. You know what I mean? It's a very clunky game in general, but I disagree. I just think as time goes on, I really, really understand the value of Assassin's Creed 1. You know, how much it just adds to the overall franchise. It's such a unique game. I just really, really love AC1. I just love the overall mysterious and creepy vibe to it. I don't know, there's something about Assassin's Creed 1 that I really love. It feels so unique and different to the other games, in my opinion. It just feels like, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but I just think Assassin's Creed 1, to me, I just think it's simplistic, but its simplicity kind of makes it unique and stand out, and that's what I like about it. You know what I mean? Overall, the story is really interesting. You know, with, of course, you know, like the overall, like the Assassin Templar storyline that's also there. It also just introduces this really cool, interesting arc where, like, you know, what if Templars are not exactly bad people? Like, they're just morally gray. You know what I mean? Like, Assassins and Templars, what if they are not inherently good or bad? They're morally gray, and both the sides have valid points, but they also have, you know, a lot of, you know, invalid points, and they don't really agree upon that. But in general, both the sides pretty much want peace at the end of the day, you know, but they have different ways of achieving their tasks, and that's what I found really interesting about Assassin's Creed 1. It really introduced this sort of morally gray concept with Assassins and Templars, and it's definitely carried on further into the franchise with AC3, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It's done a lot better there, and they don't really touch upon the Ezio trilogy, which is kind of a shame, because, you know, like, I think this entire morally gray stuff with Assassins and Templars was really interesting. And overall, you know, the parkour, I would say, it might be a hot take, it's probably the best in Assassin's Creed 1. It's so, like, I can understand it's clunky as hell, but man, it's so fluid, and it just provides freedom of movement. And I'm pretty sure every parkour AC tuber out there like praises AC1 for its, you know, fluid parkour movements. I can understand it has flaws, but it's definitely fluid, and the freedom of movement it provides is just insane. You know, the amount of moves and stuff you can pull off with it, and it's definitely something that you can, you know, get better at. Like, parkour is like a skill to master in AC1. I really love that. I kind of wish Ubisoft implemented more challenges and all that to really test the player with parkour moves and all that. They did that with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, definitely, but I do think it would have been much better to, like, really, you know, go more in depth with the parkour in AC1, because it was already perfect. I just felt like they could have definitely gone more in depth with it, and, you know, it made it more so that it was a skill to master. And it's such a shame what happened with the parkour system in the Assassin's Creed series. It just went downhill after the Ezio games, in my opinion. You know, like, they just made it more so, they just made it more handhelded and more spoon fed, where it was just no longer a skill to master. It was just like something you do, you know, overall in the open world. Like, it just didn't matter at all, and it's just not fun to do parkour in the newer games. It's just not, you know. And parkour is just there for namesake only. It's not, you know, fully ingrained. It's not really important to the overall game. It's just there as, like, I guess you can do parkour, but it's not really the main aspect or point of Assassin's Creed, because one of the main pillars of Assassin's Creed was definitely parkour, and they kind of just ruined it completely, in my opinion. I'm hoping they do, you know, like, they definitely promise a lot of things with Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I'm hoping they could definitely provide the same freedom of movement. You know, it's a sort of a similar parkour, even though I highly doubt they're ever going to go back to the AC1 parkour system. But Unity is sort of closer in a sense, but again, you know, Unity had, again, a lot of flaws, and it was very clunky. And even AC1, I 100% do think there were a lot of clunkiness and messiness with Assassin's Creed 1 in general. You know, there's definitely, like, you know, a lot of glitches, like, you know, your character not responding to some button presses, and your character is responding to some buttons you haven't even pressed. Like, he jumps off the cliff, I didn't even press the jump button, and that's pretty annoying to deal with. Overall, I still love AC1. I don't really get the hate about it. I think it's a very unique game, and it really just stands on its own overall in the series. And I just love AC1. You know, I cannot bring myself to hate this game. I can understand why new fans would probably struggle to get into this game. The newer people who are getting to the franchise will struggle to get into this game, but I still think this game slaps to this day. So I'd probably put AC1 overall on A tier. So next off, we have Assassin's Creed Origins. Oh boy, never has my opinion for a game changed so drastically than it has for Assassin's Creed Origins. Man, over the years, I have just come to not like Assassin's Creed Origins, and I'm sorry, you know, like, there's a lot of things I do like about Assassin's Creed Origins. You know, I fucking love Bayek. He's such a great character, you know, and mainly because I just think Abubakar Salim is a fucking fantastic voice actor. You know, he kills it as Bayek. He kills it with every line. You know what I mean? Like, in general, even though I do think the entire writing for Assassin's Creed Origins is very cringe and very shallow, in my opinion. Like, we cheered so hard when it first came out, but man, we never looked at the overall flaws of the game. We never looked at Assassin's Creed Origins with a critical eye and questioned, hey, that's not really that good now, is it? Like, I can understand, like there was this big gap in between, and we were definitely starved from Assassin's Creed. We would definitely needed something new with Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed Origins was the first thing that ever happened, and I can understand the hype behind it. And the Assassin's Creed Origins days were definitely very much fun, and I did enjoy Assassin's Creed Origins a lot at launch, and I had my entire honeymoon phase with it. But man, once that dies down, you really start seeing the massive flaws with Assassin's Creed Origins. First of all, I just think the overall origin story of the Brotherhood is just done in such a shitty way. It's so shallow overall and just feels unfinished in my opinion. I just think the story in general, Assassin's Creed Origins, feels rushed as fuck and just unfinished. That is because mainly the writers changed and Terry McDavid had some other work to do, and he was no longer in Assassin's Creed Origins, which is why a lot of the script kind of just was thrown out and they probably wrote new scripts and all that. Also, I think I don't like about Assassin's Creed Origins is the repetitive quest design. I think it's very repetitive. Like most of the quests just end up being you have to go rescue this guy from this camp. You clear out the camp from all the enemies. You carry the guy out from the camp, and then you put him down in the floor. You know, and he happens to be walking, even though you fucking carried him all the way from the fucking desert. Like he can walk for some reason, and he just talks to you, and the quest is over. Like that's majority of the quest in Assassin's Creed Origins, and that's just insane to me. Like the quest design is so whack. There's also lots of grinding that you need to do. You need to get over all these quests. It's still not as bad as it is in Odyssey, and also not as bad as it is in Valhalla, but still, man, I have to point out the obvious flaws. you know I just think Aya's character also definitely deserved a lot better than it got. I just feel like her character was not done justice at all in this game. In general, I think this game would have definitely benefited if it actually got a sequel. If you got a Bayek sequel written by Terry McDavid, would have been fucking fantastic, because you probably would have fleshed out a lot of things about Origins I do not like. Also, I just think Assassin's Creed Origins is retcons a lot of things, about the Assassin's Creed lore and stuff, which I don't like personally. The entire confusion with Aya's body, whether it was buried in Italy or is in Egypt, that's the entire confusion. I don't know what exactly happened with that. Then also it introduced this entire like sort of mythological boss fights in a sense. At least it was well explained in Assassin's Creed Origins, where it was just like an Animus glitch, but they kept using that excuse and got fucking way too insane with Odyssey and Valhalla. And I just think the root of the issue is Assassin's Creed Origins. If Assassin's Creed Origins never existed, we would have never got Odyssey and Valhalla, which is why I just don't like this game, because it's a way, it's not that it's as bad as Odyssey or Valhalla. It's just that it just starts this downfall of the series. It just does. And I just feel bad, like that fact that the series had to go this direction, and I just felt like if we never went the Origins route, if we never got all that, and if they just stuck to the Unity route, we would have been a lot better off. There's still things I like about Origins. I fucking love Bayek. He's probably the only redeemable part about Assassin's Creed Origins in my opinion. But overall, it's just a very mid game. You know what I mean? It's not anything good. It's not anything bad either. Like setting is very nice. Egypt is beautiful, but it's way too big to be honest, and there's lots of empty spaces. But that's kind of another one of my criticisms, that Egypt is way too big and there's lots of empty spaces and not enough spaces to like parkour on. Of course, there's cool tombs here and there that you can explore, like cool Isu stuff here and there. Like Origins inherently itself, like it's not a bad game, but it's not a good game either. So overall, it's a very mid game, and I'm probably gonna put it the same, like vein as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is D tier, because it's just like a game that I absolutely don't hate, but I also don't love either. And there's definitely more things I hate about it than more things I love. So I probably put it in D tier. Alright, so next off we have Assassin's Creed Unity. Assassin's Creed Unity has had quite a redemption arc over the years, like people fucking love this game now. Like they absolutely love this game, and they see the potential of this game, and I can understand. The game has had a lot of potential. I think on paper it's the perfect next gen Assassin's Creed game. It's just the execution that is lacking on Ubisoft part. That's the massive issue with Assassin's Creed Unity. It's just the execution that just wasn't good enough. But overall, concept wise, ideas wise, it's perfect Assassin's Creed. Like it's literally could have been the perfect Assassin's Creed game. It had everything. Like it had a really cool slick parkour system. It had a really nice setting. Like it had dense city, dense crowds. It had black box missions, black box assassination missions, where you can approach a target and kill it the way you wanted to do. Like it's just open-ended, you know, sandbox assassinations. In general, Assassin's Creed Unity, as much as it gets a lot of shit for its glitches, I do think it's a good game underneath all the flaws and all the fucking bullshittery that it has. It's a pretty like decent game, but again, there's a lot of things I absolutely don't like about this game. Again, the story being one, but the story is really, really just mid overall. Don't really give a shit much about like I think Arno is a decent protagonist, but I just think the other characters just felt very subpar in general. There were maybe one or two good characters even there. And also he was just a fucking sim for majority of the game, to be really honest with you. I just think it would have been way better if they kind of just abandoned the love story for something better. But it had the makings of the perfect next gen Assassin's Creed title, It just had everything. I just think they could have delayed it a little bit more. They could have held out a little bit longer. They should have waited until like 20. Like honestly, graphically speaking, Assassin's Creed Unity looks fucking stunning. That even if it came out in 2016, it wouldn't have been too late. It would never have looked dated at all. Like the game still looks beautiful for a game that just came out almost like 9-10 years ago. It is insane how good Assassin's Creed Unity looks. And if they just waited a little bit longer, if they waited till 2015 or 2016 to release Assassin's Creed Unity, the game would have been a fucking masterpiece. Like I'm telling you, know what I mean? Like they definitely could have polished a lot of things about it, maybe changed some story details here and there. But man, the game was so close, man, but so far at the same time. And yeah, it's just sad to see, all the potential, just everything that this game could have been. You know what I mean? It's just such a shame that it had to end up this way, And yeah, I probably for this reason gave Assassin's Creed Unity the B tier. It definitely has a lot of flaws, but then again, it at least stays true to the Assassin's Creed name. It does everything that Assassin's Creed game can. Not perfectly, but it definitely, feels like an Assassin's Creed game, and that's good enough for me personally. It definitely does a lot of things that new games did not dare attempt, and they definitely tried a lot of things with Assassin's Creed Unity that, could have been done better if there was just more time, and the execution in general could have been just a lot better for Assassin's Creed Unity. But yeah. So lastly, we have Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now, I have nothing really to say about this game. It's just very, very mediocre. It's very subpar. It's very forgettable in my opinion. Like, there's not a lot of things to like, Personally, I just think the gameplay is just not the best. The setting is really boring as well, in my opinion. Just like Industrial Revolution in London is just a very boring and depressing setting in general. And I'm not personally a big fan of it. Also, I'm not a fan of the new rope launcher mechanic. It kind of completely destroys any motivation to do parkour, and also very, very slow and sluggish. Like I'd rather parkour up and reach much faster than use a rope launcher. Like man, it's just so sluggish and slow. And the combat is also again very clunky and feels very janky. Overall, the stories as well is just like a mess in my opinion. It feels more like a parody in my opinion than an actual like Assassin's Creed game storyline. It just feels more like a fucking parody. It feels like the MCU in a sense. Like a lot of the new MCU movies, it feels like that. Like a lot of forced humor shoved in just to make the movie entertaining, just to make the game entertaining, I guess. It just feels like that, and that's the issue I have with Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It's just it doesn't take itself seriously to the point where like you cannot take the game seriously. It's just a very, very possible game that even if you skip, it wouldn't matter because it just doesn't do anything interesting or doesn't even set itself apart from the other games, the franchise. It's just very forgettable, very dull, and that's all I have to say with Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It's just not very memorable, which is why I'd probably put it the same league as I'd probably put it at D tier. I mean, it's still at least an Assassin's Creed game. At least you still do assassin stuff in it, but yeah, it's still not the best, and there's definitely more things I just dislike about it than I like. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So there you have it, folks, the ultimate Assassin's Creed tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe if you did, and tell me your guys' ranking of the series, the games ranked from Assassin's Creed 1 all the way to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, not including the side games of course, but just the main games. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video and subscribe if you did, and I wish to do more Assassin's Creed content potentially in the future if I'm interested in it. I'm also working on other big projects that most likely might be coming by the end of this month or maybe next month, who knows, fingers crossed. Hopefully it comes out on time. But yeah, overall, yeah, it was a fun video to do. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you very soon with another video. So yeah, bye.